Hello, Patriots. So today I'm in Navarre Beach, Florida. I always say Florida, but it's, as the natives say, Florida. In Louisville, where I live, we say Louisville. And those who don't live there say Louisville. So I'm coming to you today from the free state of Florida. I want to talk with you about the Insurrection Act. Why? Well, if you'll recall, over the weekend, an individual shot at ICE agents and then escaped. He has been apprehended and arrested, but this brings to mind what the Insurrection Act was passed for. The Insurrection Act was passed to address situations where individuals would gather as a group and try to resist the government, usually violently. And as we have seen in Chicago, as the days and weeks go on, these protests get more violent and more violent and more violent. So, what power does the Insurrection Act give the president? He can nationalize or federalize the National Guard of the state of Illinois, and Fats Pritzker and idiot Brandon Johnson can't do anything about it. He can also send federal troops in if necessary to quell insurrection. So I'm wondering why he hasn't invoked the Insurrection Act. And then we have this situation in Portland where a Democrat appointed judge has permanently enjoined the president from sending the National Guard of troops into Portland. That opinion is not worth the paper it's written on and the ink that it took to write it. But nonetheless, it's got to go through the appellate stages and so forth. But we have an insurrection going on there in Oregon where they're trying to destroy federal buildings. So that to me is a definition of insurrection. Now, some of you out there are going to say, well, what about January 6th? Well, January 6th was an insurrection. It certainly was. And it was a sad day in our history. But it was not Donald Trump's fault. President Trump called for a peaceful march to the Capitol, and he did not call for the Capitol to be invaded. And he also had offered Pelosi up to 10,000 National Guard troops to enhance security around the Capitol, which she turned down. So if you want to come at me from that angle, forget it. I'm not listening to it. But the Insurrection Act needs to be invoked. We need to get control of these crazy protests where people are getting more and more violent and throwing rocks at vehicles and just charging the ICE agents, the federal agents. And we are going to see a situation where somebody's going to get killed. Now, one individual was killed in Chicago who pulled or shot, who pulled a rifle out, jumped out of a vehicle after ramming an ICE vehicle and pulled a rifle out. So, but here's the thing: we are not seeing ICE arrest American citizens, as has been claimed. If you think that's true, name one American citizen who's been arrested and deported. Name one in the comment. What ICE is doing is going after the worst of the worst. And if other illegals are caught up in that net, they too are going to be escorted out of the United States after having received their due process. They will get a hearing. That's what due process calls for. Arrest does not call for due process. Due process of law comes after the arrest in this case. They will get a detainer warrant and detain these individuals until such time as they're giving a hearing on whether or not they'll be deported. Now, that's what's going on. But my fear is that there's going to be a riot breakout because of these crazy protests that are going on. I don't have any problem with people protesting. That's not the issue. The Constitution guarantees the right to peaceably assemble. But what I do have a problem with is when they get violent and they destroy property and they attack the people who are out trying to do their jobs to protect the city and state. And as a matter of fact, the crime numbers are way down in Chicago. So, what are your thoughts? Would you please share those with us in the comments?